Welcome back to another episode of Georgia Sports Nation. We got some more Hawks and Braves content on the way for you guys today. We're going to be recapping the Detroit Tigers series, in which the Braves take 2 out of 3 up in Detroit. They lose the first one, but get the next 2 and sweep a doubleheader. And no matter what you say, as far as the Tigers aren't a great team, the Braves should have won that series. Sweeping a doubleheader against any team, even a team like the A's or the Royals, is really tough to do in the major leagues. And the Braves accomplished that. The bats were out in full force. A.J. Smith-Shawver, not A.J. Smith-Shawver. Spencer Strider struggled, but the offense came through. We had Jesse Chavez, unfortunately, go down to the IL, and we'll just be discussing his absence. But Michael Tonkin step up in the latter part of the show. And then in the third game, we got the bats out in full force again. Michael Harris becoming one of the hottest hitters in the league right now after slumping for two full months pretty much, and now he's hitting over 400 in the past 2 weeks. So it looks like he's back. Matt Olson moved down 5th in the lineup. Ozzie the 2nd. They're both mashing. It's a good time to be a Braves fan if you like offense. So with that being said, let's get it started. Blackberry, in that first game against the Tigers, which we dropped, Iglesias, had some trouble locating the ball, gave up a lot of singles, just hit after hit after hit, and the Tigers' offense, hitting is contagious. You've heard that phrase, and it just seemed to happen. What is your level or thought process on, Iglesias has had 2 bad outings in a row. Are you concerned at all about him?
I'm not concerned at all. I think some, fans get to being prisoners of the moment. I mean, Iglesias has been a reliable closer for us all season long. If I'm not mistaken, he came back from injury. How many months ago was that?
Yeah, around a month ago, maybe 3.5 weeks.
And when he came back, he came back on strong too. So I don't understand being a prisoner of the. It's a lot of baseball being played here. I mean, it's the major leagues. Teams are gonna get like you said, the bat's gonna get contagious at some point, sometime. As long as they keep having 5 to 7 game win streaks, winning series, and maybe a couple losses in between, I mean, it's gonna happen. This major league, this 162 games. Get real. Don't be prisoners of the moment.
Exactly. Well said, Blackbeard. I mean, when you have a 162 game season and all the pressure's on that closer to close out that 9th inning, they're gonna have some hiccups. And Iglesias has been way more good than bad so far this season. Now, I will say this. Iglesias' bad outings have been really bad. They haven't been, 1 or 2 runs here and there. They've been in that A series when he walked the bases loaded, in Detroit here where he allowed up 3 or 4 earned runs. But his good outings have been electric. He's had an unhittable changeup pretty much. His fastball down and away to lefties has been located brilliantly. And I really just think that Iglesias just still has to find his rhythm. He's a really good pitcher. We know what he did for us last year, and when he's our full-time closer, he's had more good outings than bad outings. So I'm fine with him. I'm not really concerned about him.
Yeah, get a guy a break, people. I mean, come on. It's not it ain't like he ain't been away for a little while, getting himself ready, getting himself healthy. I mean, and he still came back strong. So like Mikey just said, once he find his footing, get that pitch back like how he get it, get back in that flow like he want to be in it, he's still gonna be old reliable for us in the cold. So I have no worries whatsoever.
Exactly. And I saw a lot of discourse on Twitter about should Brian Snitker have taken Iglesias out after it looked like he didn't have it when he allowed up those consecutive hits of the 3 or 4 earned runs in Detroit. Should Brian Snitker have taken him out sooner after he gave up those 3 runs? Do you think that should have happened, or do you think he should have stuck with his closer?
I mean, what does that tell Iglesias if he does that? I mean, because I'm pretty sure they've had a conversation, with prior to him coming back to injury, saying, hey, you're gonna have to get work back into the fold. You're gonna have some growing pains coming back. No worries. We're gonna make sure we stick with you. We're gonna let you get your stuff together, man. So what does that tell Iglesias if he takes him out? I mean, I know it's tough to watch him give up those runs. It's tough. I get it. But in the course of a whole season, of a full season, you have to continue to build the confidence of these pitchers. I know some people might say, well, maybe you build his confidence more if you take him out and don't let him keep giving up runs. Well, no, that ain't the case. If you take him out, then you showing him you ain't got no faith in him. So you want him to still be able to you want your management to still your players to still think that their manager has faith in them. Okay, and like we said, Snick ain't gonna be a prisoner of the moment. He understands what's going on right now. So no, I have no problem with it at all. I don't think he should have took him out.
Yeah, one thing about Iglesias' outing so far this year is his good outings, like I said before, have just been absolutely lights out, unhittable. He hasn't really faced much adversity and gotten through it. So I think Snitker, if I'm in Snitker's mind here, I'm saying, okay, Iglesias has been really good for us overall, but he's never really faced some adversity. Let's see if he can get through this and still get the save. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that. When Joe Jimenez came in against his former team, actually, against Detroit, that's when we ultimately lost the game. But I'm okay with that. I really think that was what Brian Snitker was saying in his head, and I'm fine with that decision. Now, if we get to that point and where it happens like twice in 1 week, then I'm saying, okay, like, for example, this weekend or early next week, if that happens again for Iglesias, I'm probably taking him out if he allows like two runs. There's a guy on second, the tying runs on base. I'm going to take him out then. But it was good to see him try to get through that adversity.
Right. And that'd be pretty much it. Like, you don't want, like, yeah, we showing we got faith in you, but at the same time, we ain't gonna keep letting games slip by us. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And then Charles has a question for us. He's asked, what's going on with Culberson and why has he not played yet? So my answer to this is short and sweet. Charlie Culberson's a good guy. He's a great teammate, but we just have such a deep team, and I don't think he's going to get playing time in this roster, especially when Kevin Pillar and Eddie Rosario are healthy.
Right, exactly.
So that's why I think Culberson hasn't played yet. Obviously, I'd like to see Charlie get some at-bats too. If we were up a game like 10 runs and you've got Eddie at the plate versus a lefty, maybe I'd like to see Charlie Culberson bat there instead of Kevin Pillar, get him some at-bats. At the home crowd always loves Culberson. He's a fan favorite. So I'd like to see him getting a bat or two here at home if we're up big in one game. But other than that, I don't expect him to play that much. It'd be fun to see him play. But Eddie Rosario and Kevin Pillar are just better players than Culberson. While he can play a lot of positions, left field is his main strength. And I don't think Eddie Rosario and Kevin Pillar are going to give that up anytime soon.
Right, exactly. It's more than just about the bat. It's about their glove too now.
Yeah. And Charlie Culberson is a great arm. We remember a few years ago when he was here, when he threw out the runner at home to beat the Marlins, they would have tied the game at 9. It would have gone to extras, but Charlie Culberson threw him out at home to win the game for the Braves on a double play. So
that was a hell of a defensive play.
Yeah. Man. He doesn't have the glove that Eddie or Kevin Pillar has. Kevin Pillar is a better defender than Eddie Rosario. But as far as defending with the glove, it goes Pillar, Eddie, and then you got Culberson pretty far back here. But that arm strength, he does have a better arm than Rosario, so he doesn't have that going for him. So if one of those misses time, I can see him getting a few at-bats. But other than that, not really.
Yeah.
So in Detroit, we discussed some struggling guys, some guys that were on the mend of figuring out, and then some guys just tearing the cover off the ball. If you think about 2 weeks ago, we said on this show, are we more worried about Michael Harris or A.J. Minter? Ant and I were discussing that. And Both of us said A.J. Minter. Michael Harris has proven us right there. He is destroying the ball, like I said in the intro of the show, batting over 400 the last 2 weeks. And opposite field power is back. It's just an awesome thing to see. And imagine you have him batting before Acuna when the lineup card flips over. That's dangerous. That's dangerous.
Yeah, man. He's really ever since you all asked that question, he's come on strong. I don't know. Maybe he was watching y'all that night.
I hope so. I like to think so.
But yeah, man, it's still Mentor is still a question mark though. I don't know what's going on, Mentor.
Yeah, I thought he had turned a corner a couple of weeks ago when he had 4 straight scoreless outings, but his last couple haven't been as strong. But I think he's figured it out. I think the 2 outings that he had after last week, they weren't unhittable outings. Like he didn't have his best stuff. But to me, when a pitcher's going through the struggles that Minter has had this year, and he finds a way to get out of jams that Minter did this week, I think that gives him a lot more confidence. So I think we see a confident AJ Minter moving forward for a good period, for a good amount of time.
Sound good to me, man. I sure hope so, because I'm a mental fan, man. I like that guy. The guy got a lot of heart and passion, man.
He does. And in the Detroit series, it's really no secret that Matt Olson struggled. Now, before we get to the Rockies series, we know that Snitker changed Olson. He moved him to 5th in the lineup, moved down Rosario to 6th, and then moved Ozzie up to 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
And Olson, that move paid off. Which when Olson homered in the Rockies series, Ozzie had 2 hits as well and a couple RBIs. Actually, 3 RBI double in the 2nd inning. But why do you think Olson has these random struggles of, he's missing the ball down the middle, but he'll be able to hit a fastball up and away to the opposite field for a homer. It's just these he's a very streaky hitter, but when he gets contact, it goes really fast and really far. That's still why he's one of the league leaders in exit velocity.
Yeah, when I played baseball, my hitting coach, something he would tell us was, if you're always looking for the same hit on every pitch, just because you're really good at hitting, at some point you're gonna have a downward, series of at bat.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get to where you're not looking for the same hit. I'm not saying he's doing that, but that's what it kind of looks like this season. It looks like he's looking for the same hit every time he's up there at bat. Now I know it was some series or about a couple months ago, but we started seeing that boy. He was putting the ball in field, and we was like, man, look at Olson starting to maximize his portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Look at him trying to be diverse and trying to be versatile. But I think he's gotten back. So once he got his bat back, I think now he's starting to look for that pitch again. He's looking for that same hit on every pitch. But that it can't be that way. You got to understand the situation. You got to understand. That once you start getting that bat on that ball, then when start back going to that, trying to make that home run hit. But you just got to get the ball in play, and I think that's what he's having an issue with right now.
Yeah, we know Matt Olson's going to hit a whole lot of homers. We know he's going to strike out, but we know he's going to take his walks as well. So he's among the league leaders in walks, among the league leaders in strikeouts, and among the league leaders in homers. So
it's crazy. That's crazy.
That's what you get with Olson. So
yeah, that's what you get.
So it's which Olson are we going to get tonight? Basically, is the one that's striking out, the one that's in homers and walks? Hopefully we get more of that than the one striking out, because he's had a couple 4 strikeout games this year, which it's been rough to see, to say the least.
Yeah.
As we go on here, the Braves ended up losing that first game 6-5, like we said, with Iglesias and Jimenez kind of crumbling down in that 9th inning, and then the Tigers win in extras at 10 innings. But after the rain postponed game 2, they were set to play a twin bill in games 2 and 3 in the 3rd day of the series. And Michael Harris and Ronald Acuna really drove the offense for the Braves. Harris 4 for 4 with a homer and 4 RBIs. Acuna 3 hits, including a homer, and 3 more RBIs. And even though Spencer Strider struggled, the bats were out in full force, and that was enough to win the game. Strider, after the game, actually said, "I wasn't very good, and we won the game. That's what matters." So credit to everybody else. So he's been in a little bit of a rut, Strider. Hopefully he can find that spin rate, find that velocity again, because it has been a little bit down in his last 2 outings.
Yeah.
I'm trying to – I can't quite put my finger on it, but Strider a lot of times over these last 2 outings has just left balls over the middle. I mean, we can go back to 3 starts ago actually in the Mets series when, yes, we came back all 3 of those Mets games, but in that big second inning when Brandon Nimmo hit that 2-out grand slam on the first pitch, fastball right down the middle, and Strider allowed 4 homers early to the Tigers. The Braves are actually down 4-0. We came back in this one too, but the bats were alive and recovered to give Spencer Strider the W. So I just can't put my finger on what's really struggling, why Strider's struggling, but it's just command. The spin rate and velocity, he's got to figure that out on his own. But I think command, he has to do a better job of changing eye levels. He's back to consistently up or consistently down. He needs to do a better job of mixing his pitches like he did in his first 2 starts of the season when he was leading the Cy Young race.
Yeah, I think about a few weeks ago, I asked you a question about him, and I said, do you think it's the changeup and him trying to rely on that changeup a little too much?
I don't think he's relying on it too much. I think he's actually done a pretty good job sprinkling it in there. You know, when he needs it in a pinch, he'll use it in the first couple innings, but it's more of like the second and third time through the order type of pitch for him.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think he's struggled with that pitch as much as just location on his fastball, really. I think that's been the biggest issue.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked that question, because I'm like, hey, man, use that change up a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, get him off the fastball. Yeah, that is something too. We don't know how. Hopefully, he feels comfortable using that changeup a lot. We haven't seen him use it a ton because that's his. You know, he has that pitch in the bag, but he doesn't like to throw it a lot. It seems that way, at least.
Right. Yeah, I think that'll play a major difference, man.
I hope we see him get more comfortable with it because, yeah, like you said, that's going to make the fastball just even more deadly. And we know that thing has a lot of rise, a lot of velocity if he's right.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of hitting, Orlando Arcia just keeps doing that. This guy, don't look now, but Orlando Arcia is the leading all-star vote getter in the National League for shortstops.
What? You don't say.
Who would have thought that coming into the season?
I sure would.
That's
crazy. What's up, man. He's doing his thing, man.
He's batting .327. And he had a multi-hit game. He had a multi-hit game in the second game of the series. And when you have Arcia and Harris as your 8th and 9th guys, like in the way they're going right now, and then you transfer over to Acuna and then Ozzy with how he's hitting right now, those are 4 guys who are tearing the cover off the ball right now. Riley, we'll talk about him in a second. He's been struggling as of late. It's been tough for him. He went through an 0 for 18 stretch recently, which is you never like to see that.
Right. Yeah, but that's tough, man. That's tough for any team coming to play us, man. When you got those guys back to back like that, ripping that thing, man, like that, man. Man, not only, I mean, and then these home games, Mikey, when these guys are up to bat, the fans are electric.
They are. Oh, yes.
They're electric. It's like, okay, yeah, this show about to start. We got Arcia, we got Acuna, we got Ozzy, we got Harris. I mean, come on, bro. These dudes having all those guys on their bats at one time, and then they all lined up right behind one another. Man, come on, man.
Yeah, I love what Snit did, changing the lineup that way. And we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the Rockies series. Charles B says Olsen might need a day off or two. And I assume you're talking about before the Rockies series. Obviously, he had a great game in that first game of the Rockies series with that homer in the 8th inning. And I believe he had another single before that, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he did have a multi-hit game. So he might have found something. But with regards to your comment here, I agree. Olsen might have needed a day off before he had that good Rockies game. But I'd ask myself, who's going to play first base if Olsen's not playing? Do we have a
great
backup
question. I don't know. Maybe they bring a guy up from Gwinnett. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Culberson can be an emergency utility guy. I'm sure he's played first base at one point. But now that I'm thinking about our just 26-man roster, we don't have a main first baseman. And I think that's why we might have signed Jesus Aguilar, the veteran from the A's. He was released to a minor league deal for some insurance in case Olsen gets hurt or if Olsen just needs a day. Maybe that's why we signed him. But on the major league roster right now, I don't believe we have a backup first baseman. So I don't see
many like
days
one of them Gwinnett things.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be. Which I hope we don't see Olsen have to go down for a large amount of time due to injury. But if that happens right now, I don't know what we go to. Hopefully we don't get into that situation.
Yeah, and Charles B, if you're gonna give them a day or two off, maybe you give them a couple series off.
Ooh.
Maybe you give them a couple series off. And let me tell you why I say that. Because in baseball, they play so many games consecutively. Having a day or two off ain't no real rest. Like some real rest, it's gonna be a couple series. And it's not like how in football, if a coach or in basketball, let me use basketball for a better example, where they have a day or two in between games. Specifically. So in basketball, it's not like a coach saying, "Hey, my guy, he looking like he need him a little break. He looking like he might be going through something personal at home or something like that." We've seen that before, where a coach would give a guy a couple games off, and it's like, okay, because you ready now? You got your mind right. See, in baseball, man, they playing so much baseball. They playing so many games. There's not a whole lot of rest. So 1 or 2 days, you might want to give them a series or two.
I see your point here, but I just think a series might be too long. I think a series or two might be too long. But I do see your point. I mean, they play 162 games, and most of those, like you said, are all with no days off. So I do see your point. Speaking of a struggling, though, or who might need a day off, Austin Riley. Now, we heard Chipper Jones talk a lot about Austin Riley on that four Hall of Fame broadcast. Jeff Francoeur, the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Chipper Jones talked a lot about Austin Riley. He said he needs to set his sights towards right center field, right over the second baseman's head. Try and hit the ball towards there. Mm-hmm. And we saw him doing that for a week. But now, over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, it's been back to the unfortunate Austin Riley trying to pull everything, and he's striking out a lot, chasing that down and away pitch. We need him to get right, because when we had Olsen and Riley both struggling at the same time, that was a big hole in our lineup. Now, I like that move with Ozzy going in between them, Acuna and Riley, because Ozzy's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He has power. He has speed. He doesn't strike out a lot. He doesn't take his walks, but he still gets on base. He has great bat-to-ball skills. So I like that introduction of Ozzy into that 2-hole. But Austin Riley has done better this year when he's been in the 4-hole, when he's been the cleanup hitter. I wonder, do you think Snit should explore putting Sean Murphy at 3 and then Austin Riley at the 4?
Ooh, now that's getting spicy.
I think I would.
I don't have a problem with him experimenting that, because we know Murphy is he's a good at bat. He gets the ball. He gets the bat on the ball no matter what. He's like Isaiah in that way. He's going to get the bat on the ball. Ain't going to be a whole lot of swinging and missing. I don't have a problem with that experiment. Only thing is, Mikey, I don't know if you recall or not, but earlier this season, I was like, hey, man, I want to see Ozzy in the top 3.
I do remember you said that. Yeah.
I want to see Ozzy back in the top 3. But you know what? Because of the reason you just gave about how Ozzy can pretty much do it all for you, I don't have a problem with seeing him at 4 and Murphy at 2, because like we just explained, Murphy gets the ball on the bat just like Ozzy does. So I have no problem with it.
Okay, yeah. So I wonder if Snick tries to go to that. But overall, we had, like I said, in that second game of the Detroit, Acuna, Michael Harris, Orlando Arcia, those 3 guys really not carried the offense, but did the most for the offense, and was able to boost the Braves to that 10-7 win. Unfortunately, in that second game, Jesse Chavez was hit by a comebacker, a line drive from Miguel Cabrera, and he hit his shin.
Oh wow!
He had to go on the 15-day IL, and Ben Heller was recalled, the guy we traded for from the Rays a couple weeks ago. He's on the team, so we're gonna miss Jesse Chavez because he's probably been our most consistent bullpen pitcher, an ERA below 2. He should get his first All-Star nod this year at 40 years old. He should. I don't know what he has to do to get in that All-Star game, what else he has to do, but his numbers scream All-Star to me.
Oh man, 40 years old, woo, yep. Doing it like that. Yeah, man.
And I have here Tonkin steps up. We're going to discuss that in the first game of the Rocky series, what he did to give the
Tonkin. That's my guy, man. I like Tonkin.
Dude. Yeah, I do too. Tonkin is a nasty weapon against right-handed hitters. When he like jumps at the batter and kind of throws it with a 3/4 delivery like this, the ball looks like it's going towards the batter and just zoom right to the strike zone. So yeah. I think that Tonkin was a great find, first of all, by Alex Anthopoulos before the season started. He'd been out of the league since 2017. And,
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's been a godsend for the bullpen so far this year.
Yeah, he has. Watching that dude throw, it's like watching a ninja throw the damn baseball. It's great.
Yeah,
I like that guy, man. Tonkin. That's what I call him.
He's and 3 Dirty over here says it seems the Braves have moved up young pitchers to the bullpen. Your thoughts? I assume you're talking about AJ Smith-Shawver when he first came up. Yeah, I really like what the Braves do, as far as they did that with Max Fried as well a few years ago, if you remember. They had Max Fried starting in the bullpen, and then he transitioned to being a starter, even though he was a starter for most of his career in the minors. They did that with Smith-Shawver, and Smith-Shawver's provided them 2 solid outings. We'll talk about his outing, his second career start in a little bit here versus the Rockies, in which he got his first major league win. But I think the Braves do a good job of preparing starters that come from the minors to the bullpen, getting them used to the clubhouse, getting them used to the guys around them, and then after two appearances or 3 appearances in the bullpen, or in Smith-Shawver's case, a multi-inning appearance in that Arizona series, then they can get used to starting and doing their own thing, and I think that's helped him.
Yeah, I agree.
In the final game in Detroit, this was a nail-biter. The second game, it was a slugfest, 10-7. This was a nail-biter, 6-5. And Eddie Rosario was the hero in this game. He hit the tie-breaking home run in the 6th inning, and then the bullpen shut the door. The bullpen. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Eddie Rosario reminds me of Super Mario. And it ain't just because of his name, but he reminds me of Super Mario, bro. The way that guy, it's like he take him a mushroom or something, and he come out there in his 7th or the 8th or 9th, and that dude just become he just play with it like his head is on fire, bro. He was one of the most exciting additions to this team a couple seasons ago when we won the pennant, man.
Yeah.
And man, when you talk about the opportunity we gave him to revitalize his career, because he had bounced around a little bit, right?
He was on the Twins, the Indians, and he was injured with the Indians. Back then, it was
Right.
called the Indians. Now it's the Guardians. But he was with the Guardians, and then we got him when he was injured for Pablo Sandoval.
Schnick gave this guy the opportunity to revitalize his career and to prove that he does belong in Major League Baseball, and he has taken that and ran with it, and he ain't looked back. So big ups to Eddie Rosario, bro.
Yeah, he seems to come through in those late inning situations. Like in this game, for example, the game-tying home run. Back in Arizona, the game-winning grand slam with 2 outs in the ninth. So, yeah, he just has that clutch gene late in games. And Charles, that's what I was saying before. The Braves signed Aguilar from the A's. That might be what you were saying. If Olsen needs a day or two off, we could see Aguilar potentially with the Braves for those 2 games. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, the Braves, we know they have a deep lineup. Ant and I have always talked about when you have 9 guys who can all hit the ball out of the ballpark in a lineup, it's scary. And it shows in this game because the Braves scored in the first, second, third, twice in the fourth, and then in the 6th inning. When you can spread your scoring out against different pitchers like that,
Bananas.
and different innings, that's when you strike fear in the opposing manager because they go to, okay, who do we go to get outs in this lineup? Wait, there are none.
Yeah, what do we do here? There's nothing we can do. You try to put different style pitching in and nothing hits the mark. And it's like, man, what do? You got too many good at bats, man.
Yeah, and if you Acuna and Ozzie both homered in both games. So Ozzie hit a homer in the first game in the doubleheader, and Acuna the next game. The 2 guys do it again. Acuna with a 461-foot shot to straightaway center in the batter's eye at Comerica Park.
The dynamic duo. That's what they are.
Yep, they are a dynamic duo. And now they're not right with each other in the lineup. So that's huge. Austin Riley broke out of that 0-for-18 with a hit in the last game. Olsen had a hit as well. And the only guy that didn't have a hit in the lineup was Sean Murphy, which is a rarity. And then Michael Harris as well, which is a rarity also as of late. But the bullpen shut it down. They didn't allow up run. Dylan Dodd, he was called up to start that second game. He's had a rough go of things recently. I think he does have a bright future, but right now he's got to learn to keep that control down. The 3 walks to 2 strikeouts are not a great ratio you want to see.
Yep, that's true. But you know what? Let me ask you this, Mikey. Because we've been having some bullpen woes up throughout this season so far. Do you think maybe that had something to do with the change up at bat with putting Ozzie at 2 and from Schnick kind of like trying to kind of use a Jedi mind trick on that bullpen, because he knows that having Acuna and Ozzie in the top lineup together, we're going to get up on teams fast.
Mm-hmm.
And we're probably the fastest scoring team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, we have the best first inning offense in the league.
Right. So when you put the 2 guys that's more responsible for that than anybody on this roster in the top 3, that kind of puts a little bit more pressure on your bullpen to close, to keep points off the board, keep runs off the board, and close out baseball games. Do you think this is a learning process from Schnick to the bullpen? Could that be part of it?
I didn't think of it that way. It could be, but personally, I don't see it. But that is an interesting thought. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, just a thought,
Yeah. As we dive into a little bit more in the bullpen here of Game 3 and how they were so great, we had McHugh picking up the win, Joe Jimenez, and AJ Minter all pitched scoreless innings, and McHugh pitched 3 innings of no walk, no run ball, not one walk or hit from those guys.
Big time. That's big time, man.
So you're talking about right there, you're talking about 5 innings of no hits for the Tigers since the bullpen came in. So McHugh, Jimenez, Minter deserves huge props for keeping them right there. And then Eddie Rosario, like we said, with that bomb to break the tie and ultimately bring the Braves to that 6 to beat the Tigers 5 was huge.
That's big time, man. That's big time.
Yep. And as we get to the Rockies series here, we're going to talk about A.J. Smith-Shawver for a minute. 5 2/3 innings, 3 earns, 6 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Much better walk to strikeout ratio from Smith-Shawver here. But like I said before, Ozzie Albies was moved up to that two hole, and he was insane. 3 hits, 3 RBIs, including a bases clearing double down the left field line in that second inning to give Smith-Shawver a really nice cushion of a 5-1 lead after that second inning.
Mm-hmm.
And he is now only a 2.03 ERA in 3 big league appearances after making pit stops at 3 minor league levels this season. That's just almost unheard of. His progression has been insane this year.
He's grinding, man. They let you know he's grinding. And he's putting in a lot of hard work, and it's getting noticed.
Yep. And Kevin Pillar went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Sean Murphy, like we said, we and you both said Sean Murphy. He puts a lot of bat on the ball. Doesn't strike out a lot, and he went hitless in the last game against Detroit. Well, here, different story. 3 hits and 2 runs. And now the Braves have won 9 of their last 11 games. Remember a couple weeks ago when people were like, "Oh no," I saw a ton of people on Twitter saying this team is not a championship contender right now. We won't be able to win because Max Fried and Kyle Wright are on the IL. And they proved them wrong, I think, to this point so far. And this team, the starters keep stepping up, and if they don't, the offense keeps picking them up.
Yeah, that's blasphemous to say that this team is not a championship contender right now. I mean, not having Fried it hurts.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But this team's just so well managed, so well coached, and it has so much talent around the bat and the glove and on the defensive side of the ball. To say that they're not championship contenders. I mean, and I know we ain't talking Falcons, but I'm gonna use the Falcons for an example. What the Falcons and actually did something that we talked about just a little bit before the show started. See, the Braves has been put together to where if they lose 1 to 2 pieces, they will survive. If they lose a guy, a big pitcher, if they lose a big bat, they will still be able to survive. They're just managed too well, and they have too much other talent around the bat and on the glove to say that this is not a championship contending team. The Falcons are, in my opinion, are doing that on the NFL side of things. It's too much depth now. The Braves have depth. Even though we might say, yeah, but we still kind of got we still got our fingers crossed. At the end of the day, it's too much proof in the pudding. They got too much depth. And if they don't have it, they know how to go get guys to replace the guys that they miss.
Yeah, great points there. And as we have Ant joining us, Ant, let's get your opinion on A.J. Smith-Shawver's start yesterday for that win in Colorado, win against Colorado. What did you think of him?
The big dog.
That was the big dog. What's happening, y'all? Yeah, that was pretty good, man. I mean, he had a few hiccups, here and there with the walks, and gave up a couple of homers. But I mean, it was only like a couple of runs, so I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, actually, the thing that I was most encouraged by in Smith-Shawver's start yesterday was the walks. He only gave up 1, and in his first few, he gave up 2 or more, and that's the key for him. His stuff is great. He's got a great curveball. He can throw the changeup off of that fastball. that mid to upper 90s fastball really well, but it's the location. And if he can keep the free passes down, his stuff is hard to hit. So make the hitters get on themselves. Don't put them on for their big hitters. Like you saw Elias Diaz hit a homer in the second inning against him, but nobody was on base. It was just a solo homer. And we've heard the phrase in baseball so many times. Solo homer is not going to beat you. They're just not.
No.
So your offense should score enough runs to get beat by 2 or 3 solo homers. And that's what we did when we scored 8 runs. Kevin Pillar, I already mentioned that, but 2 for 3 for Kevin Pillar. And he was a guy that we didn't even think would get a lot of playing time this season. He started against almost every lefty platooning with Eddie Rosario, and he's really stepped up to the plate. And he's homering actually this year at a career high rate as far as in between at bats. So it's huge for him. Now, when we were talking about Jesse Chavez here, Tonkin steps up. And Blackbear, I'll let you go first for this because I know you love Tonkin. Michael Tonkin saved the bullpen and Snitker and really everybody just so many headaches because when he went 3 1/3 of scoreless innings of relief to earn his first career save. That was huge, absolutely huge, because Atlanta's bullpen had gone 9 innings Wednesday in a doubleheader. So everybody was down. They needed to rest. And Tonkin stepped up and threw 3 1/3 scoreless innings. Just magnificent work from him.
Yeah, man. I think Tonkin is like that. He's like that unsung hero, man. That when you really think about how important he's going to be in a playoff series, he's just showing that he has that grit and that toughness, man. He's just gonna hang in there, man. Like he doesn't seem to get flustered when his pitches aren't hitting the marks he wants them to hit. And I think he has a real good rapport with the catcher too. And he just sticks with it. And he just comes through in a sequence. He just comes through, man.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ant.
No, I was just gonna say he's channeling his inner Tyler Matzik this year. That's what Tyler Matzik was, for all these years. Just somebody stable that you can count on in that pen.
Yeah, and he, especially after coming back from his 15-day IL stint, he's been really good. And the Braves did get some updates. We did get some updates on both of our star right-handed pitchers, Kyle Wright and Max Fried. Kyle Wright he's been cleared to begin his throwing program, and Max Fried is 3 weeks into his throwing program now. He hasn't thrown a bullpen or faced any hitters, but he said Fried, but Snitker said Fried is feeling good. He could be back. Max Fried could be back sometime right after the All-Star break. So it looks like we will be getting these guys back this season, which is the main thing. We knew it could potentially be a while, and we expected it. With Max and Kyle both going on the 60-day IL. But it looks like they're going to be returning this season, which is a great thing because if we do make it to the playoffs, I think we will. That's pretty safe to say. But if we do make it to the playoffs, and when we're in that first round series, having Max Fried and Kyle Wright at the top of that rotation is so important. So important.
Yeah.
Because with Strider's struggles right now, hopefully he figures it out. But if he doesn't, we don't really have a true number one if we don't have Max Fried back.
Yeah, because what I think you're going to see teams do once we get Fried and Wright back up in that lineup, man, you're going to start seeing them change up their lineups. Because it's like right now, we're pretty like black and white with the pitching. But with Fried and Wright, bro, you just get so much. They're very diverse in their pitching. They're very versatile. So right now, it's gonna lead teams to thinking, man, maybe we need to try to get up on the Braves fast because we know that we score fast. The Braves score fast.
Yep.
We have to be. So they're gonna be trying to keep up with the bats early in innings, early in games, and it's gonna be a mistake because we know Freed. He's the competitiveness that guy has. Man, come on.
Oh, when he get mad, you better watch out.
Yeah, we saw that in the World Series.
And I think that that approach that you're talking about, Blackberry, it's a mistake because we seen how many times have we seen the Braves in the first inning just light it up?
Yeah,
and then
Constantly.
you can't keep up. You can't do it.
A lot of that was in the beginning of the season when we had Acuna and Olsen. It seemed like Ronald would get on base, whether that be a walk, a double, a single, and then Olsen would just hit a homer and say, "Okay, Ronald, you can come back in the dugout now. Your job is done."
Yeah.
he'd drive him in, and it would be 2-0 Braves fast. But with the new lineup change, we've got Ozzie at the 2-hole and Matt Olsen at the 5-hole. Now, that move paid off. Ozzie, 3 for 4, 3 RBIs. Olsen, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs, including a mammoth homer to right center field. So those changes paid off. And that's what you love to see. Snicker tinkering around with the lineup. You get a struggling Olsen. And Ozzie, even though he was going well, I think his natural position in the lineup is really a 2-hole. Because, like I was saying to Blackberry before, he's a jack of all trades. He can hit for power. He can get on base with his speed. He can get infield singles. He won't walk a ton, but he's not going to strike out a lot. And I think his strikeout rate was the reason why he didn't bat at the top of the lineup in the first place. But now that his strikeout rate is lowered and his on-base percentage is rising because he's got good bat-to-ball skills, that's why I think you can put him at second now, and that's why he's thriving.
Yeah, I agree. You had to ease him into it. Don't just throw him out there.
Yeah. Any other points y'all would like to make on that Rockies game before we get the game tonight?
Let's get to it.
Let's get it.
All right. Tonight, we've got Jared Schuster on the mound. Hopefully he can bounce back after a subpar outing last time. Dinelson Lamet is on the mound for the Rockies, and he's had a rough year. A 10.380 ERA, a 2.31 WHIP. If you don't know, that's walks and hits per innings pitched. So he's had a really tough go at it. Hopefully the Braves can take advantage of this. And with a right-handed pitcher on the mound, we'll probably see Eddie Rosario back in that lineup instead of Kevin Pillar. The Braves haven't had a lot of history against Lamet. The maximum amount of at-bats any guy's had is 4. Ozzie has 4, Riley has 4, and Orlando Arcia and Eddie both have 4 as well. So not a lot of experience against Lamet, but he is hard throwing. He is a hard thrower, so going to have to gear up for that fastball. And we know the Braves are one of the top teams in the league in hitting fastballs. So it's going to be strength against strength. Let's see which one wins. And go ahead.
I'm looking at my crystal ball right now, and I'm seeing something in the cloud of smoke here, and I see lead off home run, and I see second at bat home run in the first inning. That's what I see. That's what I see. I'm calling it right now. I'm seeing the future, baby. We gonna jump out on top of them guys fast, and I mean fast.
We'll see. I mean, yeah, Lamet features that 95-96 fastball, and then he throws a slider off that. So kind of like Strider, whose his strengths are 2 pitches. You know, you've got that nasty fastball and slider. Lamet's pretty similar. He doesn't throw as hard as Strider, but he's got similar stuff, similar pitches. So kind of gonna have to take that approach of get ready for the fastball if it's a fastball count. But if not, you want to try and drive the fastball to right center field if you're a righty, or left center field if you're a lefty, so you can foul off the fastball, but still be out on your back foot a little bit enough to make contact with that slider. That's how the approach should go if you're the Braves, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, pretty much what you're saying is eye discipline. That's what you're gonna have tonight.
Yeah, you're gonna have discipline, and you're gonna have to try not to pull everything. You know, if it's a fastball count, you could sit on the fastball. But if you don't know what he's going to throw, play with the attitude of, okay, if it's a slower pitch, I can pull it. But if it's a fastball coming in, I got my eyes to right center field or left center field to try and hit it in the middle instead of pulling everything. And that'll give you a chance to get some opposite field hits and string a couple runs together. Any last points before we wrap it up here?
Do your thing, Micah. What you got?
Good.
All right. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll be back next week, Friday, 6:00 p.m. Eastern. We'll be here talking about more Braves, and the NBA draft is going to be coming up real soon. 7 days. In 7 days, we're going to be discussing who the Hawks drafted on next Thursday night. So be prepared to come talk about some NBA draft content, and who the Hawks would bring to hopefully be a star in their future. So make sure you join us next week. It's going to be an exciting show. Thank y'all for tuning in. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.